Bam.
This is episode co-host turned fill-in guest Brad Hutchings, and you're watching the Break It Down show.
Yeah, hopefully we'll catch Cody in flight here.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him, so I'm not sure what the deal is. But for those of you expecting to see Cody, we're doing our best. I'm sure Cody is too, and we will figure it out. Well, we're going to kick this thing in the ass and get it on the air. That's what we do around here. Brad.
Yes, Pete.
I'm told all the time that AI tools are going to change my life, make my life simple.
Yes.
And every time a new tool is presented to me, I'm like, please just ask me what tools I need. Like, for example, there's a lot of ways to use a microphone on these programs.
Yes.
I have one that I use all the time. When it's not in that one, there's no way to alert me like, hey, I'm not in the default microphone. I'm in the ambient mic, which can ruin a show. And I'm right now hours deep into trying to recover an episode because my computer switched mics without alerting me. And you know how big I am on, hey, listen, allow me to control sound, right? And in a simple way, but they don't. And so a lot of these tools, I don't have faith in them because they can't get the simple stuff right.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the problem with mics, with PCs, is that that's your PC that's picking the mic. You've got different feeds and whatever on a StreamYard here, and hopefully you pick the right one. I think you might have your ambient mic picked.
That could be. I'll check right now.
Somehow.
It sure is.
It sure is, because I could hear you humping under the table.
Tell me, alert me. Hey, if you want to handle simple tasks, can you get my mic right? I don't care which device is doing the picking.
Right.
Can you get it right?
Yeah,
no, they cannot. Right.
Now,
so I'm supposed to trust my financial decisions, my employees' livelihoods to something that can't remember that I always start at gallery for my tab, for my picture navigation, which is the main thing I go to. It can't remember that. And then it can't remember that I want that full screen. I don't want it small. I want it full. So every time I've got to repeat these tasks. Now, maybe there's an AI or an AI agent or some kind of machine that will help me with that. But it doesn't get this stuff right, Brad.
Yeah, I think one of the things we do in software these days is we just punt on user experience. You know, there's no Pete that's the user of StreamYard. There's Pete is a persona. He's part of a persona group. Yeah, and they don't have a persona group that's people who have multiple microphones. That's not one of their personas. So they don't test for it. And so nobody says, hey, what kind of trouble are you having, Pete? And then takes ownership of your problem and makes sure it's fixed. That's how we used to do software back in the day. But that's not cool anymore. So
yeah, and it reflects in my at best apathy towards a product. And I'm not mad at StreamYard, but I am apathetic. But like, hey, we got new tools. I don't care because you haven't gotten the simple shit right. So great, you're doing things faster. We're just, can you get the simple shit right? Like when I program this thing in, my show typically starts at 10 o'clock a.m. You want to make that a default? Allow me to pick. I can pick all these things. Look at all the shit I can do. Look at all these things. Look at all these backgrounds I can change. I can do this. I can do that.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. I got all that bullshit. But
yeah,
what I want is for it to reliably communicate with LinkedIn, Facebook, X. Right now, it doesn't communicate with X very well. I've got to go and back channel to X so that people on X know that we're live. And that's fine. I get that these things conflict, but all of that work that you said you were going to do for me, that I'm paying you for, is now back on me.
Yeah. They do 80% and leave you with the difficult 20%. And so you're just kind of like, damn, they're doing the 80%. I got to take that. But the 20% they leave me with is it's a lot of work. This is one of the things I've noticed lately. I saw a post today on LinkedIn. You know, I just like to troll LinkedIn because you can get a sense of what people are thinking, especially in the tech industry. And this is a promoted post. Promoted posts are my favorite these days because somebody's obviously paying. This post was about, hey, AI vibe coding, AI coding, they called it. They didn't call it vibe coding. Leaves a big mess. Here are our tools that we invented to clean up the mess for you. And I thought, you know what? Like 2025, maybe the peak year for software development in human history. And, it's just going to get worse from here. But in 2025, what we used to do is when we made a mess, we would stop and we would say, why are we making this mess?
Yeah.
Because messes, we call it technical debt in tech circles. Messes create technical debt, things we have to come back and clean up. And I don't need you to come and clean up my technical debt if I'm spewing a whole bunch of it. What I need to do is I need to figure out my processes so I'm not making so much. That would be the way to do it. I think they say in the universe, entropy always wins. And this is a case of entropy always wins. Like, we're creating a mess. So let's have a business to come in and clean up the mess. That's just perfect. Let's promote that business. And everybody's all gung-ho about it. It's crazy. That's one I saw today.
Yeah.
Another I saw today, Pete. Yes. Another I saw today. This is good. This is a new thing where the AI influencers will. Now, this was not a promoted post. This was on my feed, somebody I follow. But the AI influencers will tell you about all the AI tools that they're using that are replacing software they used to pay for. Mm-hmm. And so I politely asked for, hey, could you post a video or a screenshot or something like that? I didn't say video or it didn't happen, which is what I meant, right? But I asked for this and I got, well, I usually post a screenshot of tools I talk about. I just haven't the past couple of days. Okay, gotcha. I mean, I know you're making crap up, but what happens is that people who aren't so technically focused or in the weeds and stuff, they see this as a case of somebody who has ditched tools they paid for and coded them up with AI or used AI as a replacement or whatever they claim to do. And then they ask the technical people, hey, so-and-so can do this. Can you make this work for me? And then they say, yeah, no, we can't make this work for you. Okay, goodbye.
Okay, obviously we automate things all the time. I always make this reference when like, oh, your PC is going to be where you stole your recipes, on your clone. Anyhow, so we definitely do fewer of these small tasks. We no longer have to wait in physical human, face to back line anymore. Remember back in the old days, you go to university or whatever, and you're like, what classes am I going to take? And you have to go navigate that gym full of lines of people. And you're like, I hope I get History 101 this semester because it's always filled up. And you're like, God damn it, I didn't get it again, whatever.
Right.
Hey, there's a good looking girl. Let me go get in that line for that class. And you had all that kind of stuff. That's all gone. We don't have to do that anymore. Right. And so a lot of this stuff is great. And so while we're beating on the software engineers and everything and the computer scientists, you guys have done a marvelous job of reducing a lot of things that we simply don't have to do. And there is a machine for a lot of it.
I mean, yeah, I think we've always had to be choosy about what we automated. Prior to the AI stuff, we were always choosy about it because automation's expensive. Automation breaks, and automation is when you automate something, you haven't created an asset. What you've created is liability.
Right.
And most accounting business minds don't see it that way. They're like, we created an asset. We automated this. Yeah. Okay. Well, your automation is going to break. And then if you don't have the people around that were familiar with what was automated and familiar with how to automate, you're not going to be able to fix it quickly. You're going to have to bring people up to speed on both those things in order to fix it. And that's expensive. I mean, that's expensive in terms of, okay, what do I have to do to fix it? But it's also expensive in terms of, what do my customers think? Well, they can't use this automation. And, oh, yeah, I closed up the old manual way of doing it. So they're out of service for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like when you have your small gas engine powered thing, start and you think, well, I guess I have to buy a new, whatever it is, weed whacker or whatever. Or you take it to the small engine guy and you watch him fix your shit in seconds. And you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Right.
But he also understands how to fix your shit.
Yeah.
Done it a million times. And so he's tooled up for it mentally and physically. His shop is built around, I need this. Here's the box, like it's all within arm's reach.
Yeah.
And so of course he's created an efficient model. So yeah, and then when he's like, I need $200 for that, you're like, well, I should have just bought a fucking new weed whacker.
Yeah, and there's 6 or 7 engine designs that he has to be familiar with. It's like
Yeah.
after a month of this, he's an old hand at it, right? But that
Right.
first month, he's probably having to look at manuals and figure stuff out and everything, and that can be kind of difficult. Computer automation, everybody does it ad hoc, so you come in to fix one that's broken, and you have no idea what anybody's done. You don't know what they did. You don't know what the state was supposed to be. You don't know what the error state is, and now you have to bridge that gap. And you don't. Then if you're just an automator guy and you don't know the underlying process that was automated, you have to know what that underlying process is. It's crazy.
Yeah. When we rely on machines for human interface, you take the humans out of the human interface. And so now you're just interfacing. And I think that there's a logic problem there, because you are having to make assumptions to build the automation. We were talking about this the other day, so we had, man, that show with Dan Gerstein was great. Dangerstein, as you called him. And just a lot of people can put themselves into, I'm not talking about anybody in particular, but if you're going to do email exchanges and you're going to have your robot do it, your robot is going to cause you problems that either someone has to work through for you, ignore because of you, or some other value. I don't know. But there's 2 outcomes right there that are instant. Like, hey, I don't want that. You've turned yourself into spam. I don't want that. And I'm just talking email exchanges, right? Because I think email is a common thing. I get a lot of these things inbound, like, hey, I have a spam filter for you. Why aren't you in there? And now I've got to think about this process. Do I need to buy a spam filter, a better one? And so my feed is crowded, man. I get a lot of outreach.
Yeah.
And most of it is stuff I'm not interested in.
Yeah. I mean, I get quite a bit of email as well. And I mostly, spam filter, I don't know is going to be terribly effective against AI written stuff or AI enhanced stuff. The way spam filters have worked, especially on a system like Gmail or sort of a shared system where there's lots of users, is the filter itself can be trained on very simply like going through your email box and matching it with stuff that ends up in my email box. And then when you find a pattern that's been matched, say 1,000 times, then you know that this is a bot that has sent this out. And then maybe the spam filter investigates some more. Okay, who's this sent out? Is this like a bill from your phone company or something like that, right? Or is this Nigerian spammers? Okay, and so the spam filter can figure those things out really easily. But now that we're altering content and customizing content that's sent to each person, the old spam filters are not going to be terribly effective at that. And then, as I got into another little LinkedIn argument yesterday, the day before, about the effectiveness of AI detectors. And computer science education tells me that determining whether something was written by AI or written by a human is an undecidable problem, or very, very close to an undecidable problem. And undecidable problems mean you can't decide them. You can throw all statistics at it in the world. You can throw your statistical arguments at it. You can say with 98% confidence this is spam, but there's that 2%. And then what's the downside of that 2%? Let's say you're a teacher and you use an AI detector and you determine some student has written something with AI. Turns out they haven't, and you're basically going to wreck that student's career, their academic career, with 98% confidence that they did. So, it's a problem, and it's a problem we're just going to have to suck up and deal with. I think my general policy on people who reach out to me with AI written stuff is trash bin right away. I have a feeling it's going to have to change a little bit, because I think a lot of people feel like they have permission to do it. And not only do they have permission to do it, they're almost expected to. We've convinced a lot of dumb, unconfident people. And basically, Pete, by that I mean people who aren't as stubborn as you and me, We've convinced a lot of dumb, unconfident people that they have to run their letters, their outgoing letters, through AI to soften them up or make them sound better.
Right.
And that's a problem as well. I mean, I don't, you know, I don't care if you write at an 8th grade level. If you write honestly at an 8th grade level and you tell me what you think, I'm going to be way more impressed with that than if you have, just how it is. I mean, because I want to talk to a person. I don't want to see what you prompted. I don't care.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's the, I mean, we've all got a bucket of effort that we put on our work every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that, the bucket and the water, we can discuss that in terms of like what your best is and what the quality of the water, all that stuff. But if you are dipping your bucket without doing any work into my bucket and trying to like grab some of my water, and I have a problem with that,
Yeah.
So I want to work with people who are people. There's when your 98% fails 2% of the time, where's the paycheck that comes with that? Hey, you ruined my kid's career in college because you thought he did something and you said, write about FDR. And so he did. It's like,
right.
And guess what? Gave a common answer, right? So there's a problem here, in that there's no culpability when the automation fails to deliver a satisfactory result, even a slightly below satisfactory result. And so when you put something into my feed that I put effort into, you're extracting value from me that you're not compensating me for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I'll tell you some funny things that I do. I used to, I think it goes back to my mom used to make me sweatshirts. You've met my mom, she's a little older. She's not able to do that kind of thing anymore, but she used to make me embroidered sweatshirts. And she would always replace the label with made by my mom. Okay. And I had really kind of, I wouldn't say indifferent, but conflicting thoughts about that. Like, one, that's cute. I'm glad you're taking ownership in your work. The other thing is, it's like, when you give somebody a gift, maybe the gift is enough to remind them that you made it. When you make something for somebody, maybe it's enough, or when people do like a maker's mark on furniture or whatever else, it's usually not on the top of the desk. It's kind of underneath, or it's in a drawer, or it's kind of where it's not always seen. And, there's sort of a tastefulness to it. And I don't think it was, it was like the label on the back of the sweatshirt. I'm not wearing one of her sweatshirts right now. I actually fit into those again, which is cool. But
good job.
If I were, I'd show you. And, I'm kind of conflicted about that, but I bring that up because, that's kind of where we are with AI writing. If everybody's doing it, in order to stand out as not doing it, you can't just not do it anymore.
Yeah.
You have to give some sort of a signal that, hey, I put personal effort into this, and, attest that you actually wrote it. What I do on LinkedIn, I start all my posts. In fact, I do this on my own website as well. I start all my posts with #MeWriting. And it's just, I would hope it would catch on, kind of, that people who actually wrote their own stuff would do something like that to indicate it. And it hasn't, and I interact with a lot of people, and I would think like maybe one or two of them, even people who like have told me they appreciate me doing that, might make that effort and do that themselves. It takes a little bit of practice, like a week of practice, that it's just habit.
Yeah.
But nobody really wants to do that. I think right now there's definitely this sense that AI is it's just more, it's more better than all of us, than any of us. None of us can do as well as AI. So, why not have that ambiguity, and why not let people think that you let AI do your work? Unless, everybody gets upset with the crappy AI garbage that they're forced to read, half the day.
Yeah.
Which is weird. But they don't want to do something. They don't want to do something affirmatively to say, hey, this isn't crappy AI garbage. That's another weird one.
Yeah. I guess there's another thing in here too, where there's like an ethical thing, maybe. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is going to be ethics, where if you build a robot to do a task for you, and it does that task and gives you a bad value of a return, whatever that thing is going to be, you then have to figure out, how do you negotiate the apology? How
No,
do
you
you
don't.
take responsibility? Oh, you don't. So you just ignore it, right? And again,
Well, no,
put it on
that's
me, all
no,
right,
that's
the
that's the
consumer.
thing, right? Is AI not only is it making us, is it betterer than all of us? It's also to blame. This is our scapegoat.
Yeah, yeah,
SCAIPGOAT, scapegoat,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
it makes a mistake, I blame it. I think I've, but when I was a junior in high school, uh, with our PSAT scores, I scored high enough. I got an 800 on the math, and there was like
Right,
people were like really celebrating that, whatever. It's just I was just good at it. Okay, fine.
right, right,
Um,
right,
I got to apply for a program where I could take 2 classes at University of California at Berkeley my
nice.
senior year. Yes, but and I applied and I got recommendations from teachers and whatever else that said, yeah, he should be able to do this, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it was nice. It was. Um,
It was.
and I got an
And
acceptance
then
letter in the mail. And then
uh-huh,
then I picked up the phone because it rang and it was the admissions office at UC Berkeley. And they said their computer made a mistake.
right.
And I'm like, okay, wait a minute here. You can't tell me your computer made a mistake. I have a computer. I work with computers. I'm going to study computers. I'm going to become, look, I'm going to appear on Pete Turner's Break It Down show in 40
Right,
years. And
exactly.
I'm going to tell people about this call because this is, this will happen for 50 years as we go into the
Right,
computer age, which is the computer is it's a convenient thing to blame when things go bad. You don't have to take responsibility for anything. The computer screwed it up. AI screwed it up. I mean, it's the perfect best friend, really.
yeah. Yeah, it's funny, when I was a senior, I got my, right before school started, you go in and you get your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't like my schedule because none of my friends weren't in the classes, and I'll be like, "I'll be damned if I'm gonna do that." And so there's a lot of Ferris Bueller in me when I was growing up. It's before the movie, and
Mm-hmm.
so I said, "I'm just gonna make my own schedule." And so I did. I just went to whatever classes I felt like. I didn't just screw around. I did a proper schedule. I did my, whatever, and then I
Yeah.
got everything was dialed in perfect. And the teachers were like, "Meh, all right, you're not my thing. I'll just write you in. We'll figure it out later." And so I had to really, like, this was great. Like, I had opted in, like, what class are you in? What class are you in? Oh, so and so. What's her name with the tits? She's over there. So I had this wonderful schedule. And for, I don't know, like, let's say the better part of a week, I got to do whatever I wanted to do. And I was loving my classes. It was so good. I was having a great time. And then they're like, hey, all of your classes don't match up with your schedule. And I said, yeah, they do. Like, well, where's your schedule? And I was known for, like, I would look at my schedule because I have a good memory, wad it up, throw it in the trash. And I'm like, I don't know. I threw that thing away a long time ago. And they're like, oh, but why are you going to these classes? By the way, never occurred. I don't know if I've ever talked about this publicly before. Never occurred to the administrators that I just made up my own schedule. Because why would some kid do that? And why would they get it right? And so
Right.
I was like, yeah, I mean, that's the one that you guys gave me. I don't know. I just went to the classes that told me to go to. And they're like, computer must have made a mistake. And I'm like, yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Computer
ticket.
did it.
And and so they're like, well, shit, I guess we'll have to make you a new schedule. And so I still got to pick my own schedule. Wasn't quite as optimized as the other one was, but they blamed their little buddy, and I was like, that's my out right there, because again, there's a lot of Ferris Bueller in me when I was growing up, and so I got to do what I ultimately wanted to do, but they blamed their little buddy.
Yeah. And the more policy and safety and everything else they toss on these computers as being responsible for, the
Yeah,
more
I think
the
the better term is tossed off.
yes, the more scapegoaty these things
Yeah,
will be
yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
us for everything that goes wrong. It'll be, well, the AI did it or whatever else. So
So you're saying this doesn't go to, I mean, it does obviously go to character, right? When your machine, when your institution, when your underling makes a mistake, someone has to say, that is on me. I've taken corrective action. Here's what it is, and the best I can do for you is an apology. Will you accept it? Like that
Well,
one little thing right there is already more than what you're saying is available.
I think you're talking about like Ozzie and Harriet ideal world from the 1950s, Pete. That can't possibly happen now, which
right.
Which suggests to me that if you had a company and you actually took responsibility for interactions that you had and whatever else, people would notice it and be like, huh, he does this differently. Maybe I want to hang out with him. Maybe I want to give him my business. That would be a great operating strategy right now, because everybody's looking for the AI scapegoat.
Can I just real quick stop here and just say this? Because I have my different three monitors: the audience, the show, and the guest, right?
Right.
And I'm realizing I need to once again say to the audience, we're not talking about you. Right? There's nobody in mind. We're just talking about the theoretic things that are going to happen. And so I'm not coming after you. Brad's not coming after you.
No, I'm not.
I'm starting to feel a little bad. Like, oh my gosh, someone's going to think we're talking. We're not talking about you.
Well, Pete's not talking about you. I mean, obviously I'm talking about you, right? So I think the thing is,
do you have a person in mind, or not? I mean, other than UC Berkeley, do you have a person in mind at all that you're like?
I have most people that I interact with in mind, Pete. I mean, I sorry, not you.
Am I doing this to you?
No. But you're a lot of work, dude. I have to talk you away from this stuff all the time, right? No, I'm kidding. But no, I mean, I think our inclination is to go along and get along. And going along and getting along right now involves embracing AI and becoming efficient and using it for our emails and all this other stuff. And it's making a world that none of us like. I mean, yes, I'm very efficient with AI, and then at the same time, damn it, why am I getting all this AI garbage in my email? Well, you showed up at the game, and now you don't want to play the game, right? I mean,
right.
That's what's going on there. I guess I participate in the game in a little bit different way. Is I'm always looking for ways to change the game and make the game, but as I approach it, there's a lot of it I won't play. I don't know. If I had 10 emails to write, yes, it would take me all day to write 10 emails, rather than they could probably be written in 5 minutes if I just give it a little prompt and say who it is and whatever else. I get through it in 5 minutes. I've probably got to, if I have to write those emails, I probably have to put that effort in at some point. So I sort of take an amortized analysis look at it and say, if I put in that effort up front, that's going to be for a longer, more human to human relationship, because it started that way. And that's going to end up, 2 months from now, that hour I put into that email, that'll be like nothing, right? Now, today it's something, 2 months from now, it's nothing. Let me give you another example, Pete.
Please.
As you know, and as I've told your audience before, I am very interested in OpenClaw, but I'm not interested in OpenClaw to automate all my stuff. Okay. I'm interested in OpenClaw because it's this phenomenon. It has ridiculous problems with it. Like, you hear about a new one every couple of days, and everybody goes nuts over. What was it? The Facebook, the Facebook director of safety had to sprint across her apartment in order to shut down her Mac Mini that was running OpenClaw because it was working on deleting all of her emails. I mean, and where I go as a comedian with that is, who has an apartment that large?
Yeah.
I mean that's the ridiculous part to me, but all the other part is just as ridiculous as it sounds. So what I'm doing with OpenClaw is I'm kind of looking at it from, okay, it's this big phenomenon. People are spending, like, this is not made up. People are spending $1,000 a day on tokens. Now, they have token budgets from whatever else, so that they're not actually putting out the cash, but there are a lot of people who are spending that. And I got to thinking, somebody who wants to get into this and doesn't have a token budget and doesn't have credits and all this stuff because their company does this or has the right VC or this or that, they probably want to be able to do this stuff too. So what can we do to make this affordable for them? So I've been trying to hook it up to my Mojo knowledge appliance or a Mojo server. and small LLMs, right? And so I'm finding all the holes in this thing that you would have no idea would be in there. And I'm finding that the most interesting conversation, in fact, is between Moja, pardon me, OpenClaw, where it sort of presents like sort of a user interface to you, and then it's got, like its work, underneath. That work underneath talking to the LLM is a very, very interesting conversation that nobody is focusing on. Everybody's focusing on, well, it deleted my emails, it did this. Well, if you want to understand why, you've got to look at that underlying conversation and see what a mess it is. All right, so let's put that one off let's put a pin there. We'll put that off for maybe further discussion later or another time.
Pinned. Right.
It is pinned. In order to see that communication, what I've had to do is I've had to, and not interfere with it, okay? Because I want to see it, but I don't want to mess it up, okay? Mm-hmm. What I've had to do is I had to implement this thing called a proxy. And what the proxy does is the proxy is like a little repeater in like the game of telephone. And as it's repeating in the game of telephone, it's writing everything down so I can look at it later and I can see what these conversations are. Okay. And so this would be a great candidate because of, what it is. It's a proxy. I don't write a lot of proxies. Probably write it in Python because that's like the right language for this kind of thing. And there's lots of so I don't write a lot of Python either. This would be a great candidate for vibe coding. Like, just write me a proxy that sits between, that writes out a record of what's going on. Right. Now, I did not take that route. Instead, what I took is the route of 2 days of just sitting down and, learning Python again as I code this thing, learning this toolkit called K-Tinker, which lets me make a UI from my Python program. And I've got the thing basically running with a few little bugs I got to work out, a few little details I've got to work out. And it's very interesting to watch and stuff like that. That took me 2 days and they were long days. Like yesterday started at 3:30 a.m. kind of day. And I just couldn't wait to get to it. And in 2-3 weeks, when I'm using that, those 2 days will mean nothing. Kind of like in 2 months when I have a good business relationship developed with somebody because I spent an hour writing an email rather than having ChatGPT do it or my Mojo server do it. That hour will mean nothing. It'll be a great investment. And that's kind of the way I look at, coding and stuff too, is I'm doing it right. I understand what this system, I understand what every line of code does. If I had vibe coded this, I wouldn't have any idea what any line of code did. And if I needed to fix something, I'd have to go digging through something I don't understand, try to develop a local understanding of it, and then try to make a fix and a patch. And that didn't seem like very, very efficient of getting code out, not very efficient of actually maintaining code and dealing with, a new liability that I have to deal with now.
So let me just see if I can capture some of what you said, because you're right on the edge of my understanding. So as you're looking at the communication process between an agent and an LLM and a website or whatever it is, you're saying that what's going on is not a whole lot of thinking. I mean, we already talked about this I think yesterday.
Yeah.
Your generative AI machine will always give you an answer. It cannot tell you what it thinks because it does not think, right? Like it doesn't know anything. It's just giving you the thing. And then I close that thought up with your LLM will always give you an answer. So it's always going to give me an answer. It's on me to determine the quality of the answer. And if it feels good, it's probably bullshit.
And the funny thing is if you're not looking at the answers that it's giving, if you're not looking at that level of communication, you just see as, hey, it's deleting my email. Right. So as a user of OpenClaw, like I'm on this step right now where I just want to know the weather. Okay. Right. And so I will sit here at my desk trying to make it give me the weather. And it's like /weather Minden, Nevada is the command you issue on the prompt. Okay. And then this is supposed to use what's called a skill in OpenClaw in order to get the weather. And it doesn't work very well. Like as a user who doesn't know what's underneath, I would look at that and I would be like, this is not reliable. This is silly. It could
Right.
even be the only skill that I give OpenClaw, my setup, just be able to get me the weather. And it can't reliably get me the weather. But when I look underneath at what's happening, the communication that goes on, it's super interesting how it tries to figure out to get the weather, because it has explicit instructions on how to get the weather. And yet it goes through 3 or 4 different tries of things that don't work to try to get the weather before it might get to the way that it's supposed to get the weather. Like, it's kind of like if you had, let's say you had an intern or whatever, and you're like, hey, go make me a cup of coffee.
Right.
And because that's what interns do, right? And
Yeah.
you don't follow them around, and they come back with I don't know, some kind of a tea in a Starbucks cup. Like,
Right.
We have a kitchen in here. Why did you go to Starbucks to get me a tea when I asked for a coffee? Right.
Right.
And if you followed them around, you'd see that they broke your K-cup machine. They left water all over the floor. They couldn't find any more coffee.
I have an example for this.
Do this. Okay. Do your example. Right.
Okay. Definitely. So I'm a coffee drinker today. I picked it up in my mid-40s, but back in my 20s, I didn't like it, had a disdain for it, and people who were like, I need my coffee. I'm like, yeah, So when I was in the Army, I'm like an intern. Turner, go make coffee. Oh, no, thanks. And it's technically it's a lawful order, right? I'm not supposed to go. I will now make the coffee.
It was not making coffee. It wasn't making coffee for you, Pete. It was making coffee for, the colonel.
For the office, right?
For the office,
and the colonel's not in the office. So I'm like, hey, not a coffee drinker. Probably not a good idea. Thanks. Have a nice day. No, we'll show you. And I'm like, oh, you think you're going to show me. And so they would be like, you will take, 6 cups of water, as you can see by the measuring line here on the pot. You will then take 12 scoops of coffee, or whatever the ratio was at the time. And then you will push the red button. We'll see about that. Nope. And so I got it wrong on purpose. And they're like, oh, the coffee is terrible. Who made this? I did. Gladly volunteering. I did. Damn it. I got the remedial training. You will take and then they did the thing, the Army always does. And then that is it. And then you push the red button. Got it. Didn't have it.
Didn't happen. Yeah.
So I made a hyper strong one. Where'd all the coffee go? Why is this coffee so strong? Who made the coffee? I did. Oh, Jesus Christ. And this was the outcome. Turner can't make coffee. Don't ever have him make coffee again. I made 2 pots of coffee in my entire military life. And that is the perfect. And now mine was purposeful, right? But that's the perfect example, because you're no longer going to go to Turner, the coffee maker, because that shit don't work.
So this is the lesson we should learn, right?
Right.
But instead, the lesson that I learned and that everybody else learns is it can't get the weather. But you know what? The version that comes out tomorrow morning, because they release a version every two or 3 days right now, the version that comes out tomorrow morning might be able to get the weather. That's right. That's my attitude with that. But let's take your example again as an automation example. Okay. Yeah. It's like whoever ordered you, I'm just saying he's a colonel. He's probably not a colonel, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Whatever.
Colonel whatever orders Pete Turner. Turner, make some coffee. And so you go make some coffee. And every time you make coffee, you do something different to screw it up. Colonel whatever could very easily say, there's a better way to make coffee. It's have Hutchings make coffee. By the way, I did not serve. I'm not doing a false valor thing here. Just coming up with a name. Right. Okay. So Hutchings, go make coffee. And Hutchings makes coffee really, really well. And he doesn't need any more. He doesn't need any training. He just does it really well. He's very competent at it. Okay, that's automated. But the colonel says, well, Turner's available. Turner, go make coffee. Well, this is kind of what we do with automation that we have the AI come up with. Is the AI, every time you ask it, the first time, the 20th time, the 50th time, it doesn't know what it has to do to complete the automation. It's starting from scratch. And so it's going to do trial and error and maybe get it right and probably get it wrong, or maybe get it wrong every single time you ask. And we never stop and say, hey, what did this thing do? oh, it did this, it solved the problem. Why don't we encode the solution to the problem so it doesn't have to solve the problem again? We don't do that.
Okay.
You know, we see it spin out of control from, you know, I'm talking about OpenClaw here in the LLM. We see it spin out of control by having too many things on its mind that it's supposed to do. And yet, when it finally gets one right, we don't say, hey, this is how you do this. We don't shortcut it at that point. And that's something that we've got to do in order to, you know, just that level of, you know, bumping up that level of abstraction. That's something we have to do to make automation effective. In fact, that's what we do when we automate by hand, is we find things, hey, can we do this reliably? Well, let's just make this, we'll make this a function or procedure or whatever. And then we'll call it. And then we'll never have to deal with it again, hopefully. Well, until it breaks, and then we got to fix that.
But yeah, right.
But you know, hopefully we can, instead of figuring it out each time, we can, if we haven't figured out, let's just do what we figured out. And we're not doing that with OpenClaw. And I suppose that a lot of AI platforms aren't doing that either. Like, they should be in a learning phase at first where they're learning what users want to do and sorting out how to do it. And then after a little bit of that phase, it should go to a, we know how to do this phase. The AI is not going to do that for you. That's got to be human people looking at what's going on and saying, okay, it figured this out. I need to make this easier, you know, an easier path that doesn't have to go through the AI. We don't do that.
Okay. Why not?
Why? Because we don't do that.
Okay.
Because Pete, I think a lot of it is people who are leaders in the AI field, they don't know shit about how to make software. They don't know shit about what software is, how it's made, how it's used, what problems it has, what costs it has, what benefits it had. They don't know shit. They're just leaders. They're just in charge. And so they don't know that these are important things to do. And if they don't know they're important things to do, they won't task an expensive engineer with spending their time on these important things. That request has to come from down below. And then it's like, well, why do you have to spend time on this? Why can't you be working on something that matters?
Right.
Because we haven't fixed it yet. You know, that's, I mean,
well,
we've had that
scalable.
Yeah, we've had that problem. We've had that problem with software since the beginning of the software industry. The people who know what's going on are not making decisions. That's very poor. That's poor organization and management. And it's why small teams, where everybody has some ownership of the process and the product. And I don't mean like stock ownership. I just mean like personal ownership of as part of their career. Of these processes and stuff, why they always outperform large teams, why software development doesn't scale to, you have 500 developers on your team. Well, they're not 500 times as productive as a 5-person team. They might be half as productive.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you look at the ways to, okay, going back a ways, you were talking about like when you write an email and you spend an hour on it.
Yeah.
And for right now, that's worth it to you. Maybe that time will come where it doesn't. But I would say that human to human contact is almost invaluable,
Mm-hmm.
and looking at what that is. And so instead of exchanging 20 cents a token, you can't buy a Pete token. It's outside of your cost range because it's not just the message that I'm trying to communicate. It's not, there's a passion in there. There's, the best of my effort. Like if I want to book someone for a show, for example, which I do a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I actually type the email.
Yeah.
And some don't come back. That's fine, right? They go to the void. But because I take the time to do that, one of the outcomes is people book themselves. Their person gets a hold of me and everything, and I deal with them as direct as I can, and usually vice versa, right? And
Mm-hmm.
those are even if it's challenging, those are the easiest, richest relationships. And I want to trade in that. The tokens required to do that level of care, I don't know that they exist because I'm the one doing it. And if I could find look, I could easily just cut and paste emails and just, put the name in there.
Yeah.
But that's not the person that I want to be. I don't blame anybody for doing it. I get it. You don't want to do that, but I do. And I'll express, like, if you call me, if you email me, I'm really the person. I might be slow. And I tell people all the time, my capacity and my intent for output, they don't often agree. So don't feel bad about reminding me. I often need that. And I don't mind saying that. And that's, again, that's another value token of, hey, Pete wants to do this. If he says he wants to do it, he wants to do it. He's going to do it. But you might have to remind me. And if it's not important enough to you to remind me, then you're relying on me to remember. And I might, but I might not. But there's no hard feelings in that. But at least we're talking about feelings. At least we're talking about quality as opposed to efficiency. Let me go on one more second on this.
Please.
We are not good at thermodynamics. We are not good at understanding what they do and how they flow. And so when we say we've made trains are more efficient at moving people than anything else, no, they are not. No, they are not, because they can never complete the job. You always have to do something else to get to a train. If you need to carry a 90-inch TV out of Costco, you are not taking a train to do that. At least you're not doing that at mass. By the way, trains require engineers in the train and outside the train. It requires a police force. It requires a medic force. It requires all these things to make someone say, yeah, I can reliably and safely take this train and go from here to there. When a train becomes a homeless encampment, when a train becomes, and it's not just a conveyance, you lose efficiency really fast.
Yeah, it's not useful as a conveyance anymore. That's a
Right.
problem. I think in realms where people are important, you know, the more computerization you do of getting in the way of intermediating and stuff, just makes it more difficult for people to connect and figure out if they have something to do with each other or they don't. You know, it you might like that it sterilizes it, and it maybe you feel like it gives you a better chance, you know, in a field where everybody's doing that. But, you know, in fact, I think what we all crave at the end of the day is, you know, just a good laugh with somebody, you know, just good time spent, you know, feeling like we were appreciated, you know, getting a thank you for something we did, being able to say thank you for somebody who did something for us. I think we still all crave that. I think we're not all so shut in and just, you know, into ourselves that we don't appreciate that. And, you know, kind of the way I know that is people I know who do get very shut in by things, messages and everything, you know, I'll just sometimes say, hey, give me a call, and we talk, and I can tell that they just, you know, like whatever we're talking about, I can tell that they just wanted somebody to listen to them for a minute.
Yeah.
You know, because I'll say, hey, thanks for telling me your story, and then thanks for listening. You know, and it's everybody grew up from kindergarten. You know, it's like everything I learned in kindergarten. Well, and then everybody started growing up, and you know, when you grow up, you forget those things. It's not, you know, they become like these fond memories or whatever else. No, how about we just behave like it? You know, you could behave like act like a damn kindergartner, Pete.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, share your lunch, you know, hang out with your friends, take a nap. Those are good things for us all to do, you know, when we're hyper computerized. That's for sure.
Yeah, I had this lesson realized a while back, you know, struggling with weight and being middle-aged and a sore old broken body. And I was considering like what can my next era of fitness be? And I was driving down the street that connects to my street, and I remembered like I loved PE. I like was so sad that it was only an hour. I took PE almost like nonstop through high school and college. I don't know how many kids you knew who took PE every damn period, every semester, every quarter, but I was one of those guys. And the times when I didn't, I'm like, I cannot skip PE. I have to do it. I really loved it. And so that was one of the building blocks in getting me into jujitsu. I'm like, I need to find something that's like an hour long that I'm going to love to go do, you know? And I love it. I love it. And part of me, because I'm tired, is looking at the clock going, man, there's half an hour left. And the other part of me is going, oh, man, there's only half an hour left.
You know, Pete, you're ignoring your audience again, because the audience is 20 years younger than us, Pete. And they never had PE. PE is physical education. Like literally in school, there would be a class that you took where you would do like you'd go work out, you'd play basketball. I took racquetball just about every quarter in college.
Yeah.
It was like I think I accumulated like 10 units of racquetball. You got like 0.2 units every quarter of racquetball you took. I might have set the record at UCI for racquetball units. But yeah, that was important, and being able to go play 3 times. It was 3 times a week in college. It wasn't every day. But being able to go play 3 times a week, and then, obviously, evening basketball league and things like that. Those were very important just to keep my mind focused. You take an hour away, and then you go back and you sit down. You're like, oh, I see it. I see this now. I can figure it out.
Right.
Very important.
Yeah. When I guess the realization that, things I learned in kindergarten thing, it's like, yeah, don't forget you love this kind of interaction. And so that brings me to when we look at how these machines communicate and what they do for us and the efficiency that they create for the tasks that I never wanted to do, don't need to do in the first place. There's a whole lot of FOMO in this. And normally we kind of go, oh, that's FOMO. I don't have to do that. And if I do, hey, then okay, don't mow, right? Like go do it.
Let me reframe it for you, Pete. Let me reframe FOMO for you.
Yeah.
It's not FOMO. It's an opportunity to look busy.
Okay.
Right? They give us something. They give us something to do that makes it look like we're doing something. Like I told you about this poster on LinkedIn at the beginning. She claimed about all these things that she had optimized with AI that she was paying for before and she's not paying for now. And my instant thing is bullshit. That's absolutely not happening. In fact, I'm sure it's absolutely not happening. I would love to follow her around with the camera, not because I'm a creep or anything, but just because I'd like to see, okay, how did these work out for you? Did you actually do these, or are you just telling us you did these? Because what it really sounds like is it sounds like you're really busy. Like you had tools before that made you less busy, allegedly. And now you get to program your own tools. That makes you busy. And then you're using your own tools. They're not working very good because you programmed them, because nothing works well the first time. Even when you're, a great software engineer, it takes, months and months before it's like usable. So I'm very skeptical about it, but I do think that as a leader in AI, she looks very busy with AI, and that's a good look for her.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. And I don't want to give the impression that we are down on, AI. And by the way, what is AI? It's a collection of tools that do a lot of different things. I always go back to the blender. My blender can make soup, hot soup. It can also make smoothies, and I just push a button. It's pretty smart. I don't want to have to do that work. I love automated things like that. I remember you and I both remember when the welders came in into the auto industry and started welding everything. And everybody's like, we're not going to have any jobs. That's all kinds of jobs in factories. People want them, and they keep them for their entire lives because they're still valuable. So neither of us is against AI, but it struggles to do things reliably that you would think that they can do. And if they're not getting these simple things right, if I can't understand if I give you, Private Hutchings, instructions, I will keep it simple. You will take the coffee urn and put the water up to the blind. We will call this the Brad line if you don't get this right, and I'll force you. We teach people how to use a weapon, right?
That's kind of important. I mean, Pete's coffee attitude with a weapon would be a bad thing.
Well, Pete doesn't mind shooting.
Well, I get it, but
but that, there's a way to train that into them, right? There's a set of instructions, and so if I turn you loose in my apartment and I say, hey, I need you to go to my my laptop and execute these following things. I have my technology stack, you see, and so I need you to get into my GitHub and my BuzzFeed and my mother and then log into all these things. Passwords are going to be on a pad right next to the computer, which is next to the mouse, and blah, 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 blah. But I never say the words to you. Do you know how to navigate on a Macintosh versus a Apple or a PC? And so if you're a PC dude, you get there like, this is all different. And if I started fucking up, you'd be like, oh, you know what? That's on me. It didn't even occur to me that you might use another. And obviously you can use a different. Okay. let me teach you now about, let me back up, corrective behavior. So we don't do that with AI. We're just like, I told it to get me the weather and it told me it's raining outside. And then I'm going to cue Pete's camera. It is not raining outside. Can I get it to go over there? There it is. Not raining. It's sunny.
Right.
So
That's great.
now I got to tighten up my thing.
Yeah, I'm not
take the ball and run with it.
Pete, I'm not down on AI either. I mean, I have a lot of criticisms about what we do with it and what we say about it. Mostly who I think about when people come up with their AI is so great, it's going to do this and whatever else, is I think about their audience. Speaking of thinking about our audience that we do occasionally, I think about their audience. And I think their audience is going to come to me and say, well, so-and-so says I can do this with AI. How would I do this, Brad? How would you do this for me with AI? Right. And I'm like, well, I got to make sure that so-and-so isn't making crap up, because a lot of people are in this space right now. It's not an AI problem.
The lady you're talking about, like, show me your work. Show me that you're actually doing
She is not, by the way, if she's watching, she is not the only one. This is a good half of my feed of technologists who just say, yes, AI can do this, AI can do this. It's assumed. And it's like, well, wait a minute. You can say that, and then if I'm in the organization and I have to make that work for you, I'm going to be the first person you fire because it doesn't work.
Right.
Right. You're going to blame me for not being able to fulfill your promise. And so this is what I am critical of, is the promises that are made about AI that just don't hold any water at all. And then I feel for the people who are being told by leaders that they trust or they depend on, or provide for their incomes or whatever else, who then have to deal with the consequences of this leader thinking this works, me not being able to fulfill their wishes because I can't use that tool, and falling short of their expectations. And that's not your fault. That's the leader's fault for not taking the time to figure out what the thing can really do. And that's the crisis that we're in right now. That's the real crisis. But no, not down on it. If I were down on it, I wouldn't be, dude. If I were down on it, I wouldn't have spent 14 hours yesterday working on trying to visualize how OpenClaw is talking to an LLM. I wouldn't have wasted a minute on that if I were down on it.
Right. Yeah. When we were talking to Danger Stein the other day,
yes,
we were learning about his work to understand how a military might deploy some kind of AI robot-based infantry type system.
Yeah.
And he had obviously, because we gave him a pretty rigorous conversation, but he obviously had thought about this stuff deeply.
Yeah.
What have you learned since we had that conversation with him?
Oh, he's a cool dude. Like, that's the first thing. Like, he was we've had a couple interactions off camera, and he's a cool dude. And again, I'm not down on, I mean, I'm down with, not down on people thinking about the implications of these things, and where do we go from here? Now, we're not here yet. And we may not ever be there, or maybe in our lifetimes we won't be there. Certainly with this technology that we're talking about, LLMs and what we call AI today, we're not going to have autonomous robots. We will have robots that can do all sorts of physical feats controlled directly by people. But we are not going to have robots that make up their own mind to go, like, pick up your groceries and bring them in and put them in the right place in the refrigerator, or sort them, in a methodical manner that you could find them later. That's not going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But let's say we did have the technology for that. It's definitely worth considering what we would do with it. I think we just got to be careful to say, we don't have this yet, but if we did. And to make that kind of clear, when you're telling stories and stuff, maybe you don't have to do that so much. You can, people can embrace the fantasy and see for themselves where the levels of fantasy are. Blurred lines where, people think that's reality, that can always be a problem. But we do need to think about those things for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So getting back into the whole, and I don't want to keep it too long, but the cultural side of this, the ethical side of this, if we're not holding ourselves to ethical and cultural standards in terms of what you owe somebody else when your shit doesn't work,
Mhm.
is that not eroding the reliability of that leader in this case, or of that person? You're like, hey, I remember when you tried to run OpenClaw and it started deleting your emails, and so your next idea, so what, right? I mean, how many strikes would a financial advisor get in this case? Why are we giving OpenClaw and other AI things more strikes than what we might do? Is it because the other industries are more established and settled, and the tolerance for errors is gone, or I don't know? What are your thoughts?
Um, I think this is a really good question, Pete. I think a lot of this industry right now is behind a bet, a giant bet, and
Okay.
Sam Altman put a number on that bet, $7 trillion, and it's a fanciful number. Let's say that it turns out to be $2 trillion. Okay, basically,
Okay.
what isn't that what we spent in Afghanistan and Iraq? $2 trillion, something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about spending 3 times Afghanistan and Iraq. Now we're talking about spending Afghanistan and Iraq. It's a lot of money, and I think people feel like if they want access to any of that money for what they're doing, they have to line up, and they have to say the things that are being said. They have to believe the things that are being believed. Like cloud LLMs. It's a very, very tough. It's a very tough nut to crack right now. Everybody believes that LLMs in the cloud are better somehow. The way we're probably going to crack that, of all things, is I think the shortest path to it is what Trump said in his State of the Union. I don't know if you caught this, but he said that these data centers will be responsible for producing their own power. So we're talking about power on-prem, basically, so that it doesn't affect the grid and doesn't affect pricing and stuff. And I think that's going to be like the thing where local communities say, well, no, so wait, you want a data center and a power plant? Like,
Yeah.
this is a little too much of an ask. And in fact, they
Right.
are. They're like half of data center projects are currently in limbo because of local opposition. Half of what was originally planned for data centers
Yeah.
are facing stiff opposition locally. And I think that's a good sign that lets us, gives us time to open up. Hey, do we really need all this stuff to happen in the cloud? Or are there reasons like privacy and dignity where maybe your data shouldn't go up to somebody's data center, right? Are there things that we can do locally, like on cheap computers in our house, that we previously thought we could only do with expensive cloud machines? And it turns out that there are a lot for both of those, and they're going to get more of an airing now because there's a reason to oppose $7 trillion of spending on stuff.
Right.
I mean, but everybody lines up with it, and it's like it's definitely swimming upstream to not line up with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about the need to keep up and to keep ahead and to stay competitive, and there's a cost to not doing that, right? So I understand that, and we were trying to pick the next song a little over 10 years ago. Oh, I'm going to predict the next song. We didn't really get that right, but we did change how people consume music in a way that made that answer more right than it ever really was.
Yeah, I guess I would liken a lot of the like our thing about personal communication, actually writing it yourself, to what's happened with Spotify. You don't own your music anymore. You have to pay a subscription.
Yeah.
I would certainly like a system more where I owned my music and it wasn't being tracked every time I played it. And there isn't, if I play a song 3 times in a row, there's probably some data nerd somewhere that's asking, why did he play that song 3 times in a row?
Sure.
And frankly, I would really like to not be part of that.
Yeah.
The only way to not be part of that is to own my music and not have it tracked what I'm doing. Okay. So,
or what do we market to him because you listen to the song 3 times in a row? Like when you get the big data numbers and you're like, all of this is true for all of these people. I think not. Hey, I've got to do the next thing. So
yeah.
Let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap it up. No, it's good show.
Yeah. Anything you want to say in closing?
I want to say that to my few fans that are waiting for the next open claw thing, this visualization thing it is going to be amazing what you see. It is going to be amazing in opening up your eyes. And I think that as more people start to think about this, what are these systems doing with these LLMs that we're not looking at? Hopefully we'll see less of, poor Facebook exec women sprinting across their apartments, to turn off their Mac minis, because that's a visualization I just can't get out of my head. It's just it's peak stupidity in the AI world, Pete.
There you go. If you guys need help with using AI with your company, by the way, this
I can
handsome
help.
devil right over here is a guy you talk to, mojo.net, or just Brad Hutchings on all social media. You'll find him. And really, truly, it's helpful to talk to him to understand what the capacity is currently of the machine that you're trying to use, and what questions to ask, because it's easy to get sold a bunch of stuff. People are trying to sell me AI every single second of the day.
Yeah.
But do I need it? I'm already doing this job all right. Am I actually going to save any money? Because everybody else, there's a lot of selling going on in this world. So,
I would love to tell you that you don't need it, and I would love to be able to convince you that you don't need it. Because what that does is it makes you a more valuable customer when you do need it.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, everybody, this Break It Down show. You all know what to do. Subscribe, check it out. Thank you for watching. Might put one more episode up today, pre-recorded one that we did earlier in the week. Other than that, I will talk to you all later. Brad, I'll say goodbye to you in a sec. Bye-bye, everybody.